Dominuses are probably some of the most well-known items on Roblox. But out of all of the Dominuses that have been released to the Roblox catalog, did you know that there are a few that didn't actually make the cut? So in this video, I'm going to be going through every scrap Dominus that was never released. Our first unreleased Dominus takes us back to October 9th of 2011, and was actually the fourth Dominus ever made. So the fourth Dominus ever made was actually never released. This Dominus was the Halloween Dominus, and as you can see on the screen now, it was a, interesting thing. It has a sort of weird, disproportionate grin on the front with two little pumpkins on the buttons. And then it has sort of turkey feathers instead of bird feathers. Now it looks a bit better when worn in a character in game, however it is still a bit wonky and is definitely applicable as to why it was scrapped and never released. Here's the texture for it now, and as you can see, if you're unsure if this is real or not, this was created by Roblox, so it was real. Now this item actually has an interesting story because the texture is actually broken. If you insert in-game normally, you're actually going to get this, which is certainly not right. Although this texture was never released, this Halloween Dominus technically was actually released at the catalog. This was in the form of Dominus Messer, which actually replaced it as a 2011 Halloween gift, and Dominus Messer was released instead. The next item on our list is a bit of a weird one, as if you couldn't tell by the weird mesh on screen now, which actually went completely unused. This is of course the Ticket Dominus, which was created on December 23rd of 2015. Now the moment you place this item in game, it is pretty obvious why it was scrapped. It is quite literally just a Dominus Imperius that has had its wings replaced with tickets. And when worn in game, it continues to look fairly off and just generally weird. Now, similarly to the Halloween Dominus, this item was actually re-released in the form of Dominus Pentaseum, which even though I absolutely hate this item, it definitely looks a whole lot better than the original. Our next Dominus takes us back to December of 2013 with Dominus Aureus. Now this next unreleased Dominus is actually an original version of this hat, almost like a beta version if that makes sense. So with that we had the original Dominus Aureus, which has this cool gold texture that's a lot more detailed than the final product. And even though I've grown to like Dominus Aureus over the years, I do think the original version looks 200% better than what we got. So it's a shame it was scrapped. Just look at that, isn't it awesome? Now interestingly, I cannot get this item's texture to show up. It keeps redirecting me to the mesh, which interestingly is also named Hooded Valk for some reason. Now I'm going to leave a link to all the textures of these items in the description down below. But for this, you have to bear with me and I'll just post the mesh for it. If anyone actually has the texture for this item, feel free to post it down below. And by texture, I mean the actual one made by Roblox. Our next Dominus again takes us back to another existing Dominus, in this case Dominus Rex, which similarly to Aureus also has a sort of beta version of it. However, Rex actually has two versions of it. The first one was created on May 18th of 2015 and is basically just a purple Aureus. There's literally no difference, it's just a purple Aureus. So under that notion, it's probably obvious to see why this item was never released. At least in this state. The texture is shown on screen now. The second version of Rex was a slightly more refined version. Now this version was actually created a few days later on December 23rd of 2015. This version is definitely a bit higher quality and more refined than the last one. Despite this, it is literally just a purple recolor of Dominus Frigidus. I actually really like this version, but I'm glad we got the one that we did. Our next Dominus is a bit of a weird one because I actually do not have the creation date for this one. I cannot find it and I absolutely do not remember when it was made, but you have to bear with me that it does actually exist. This is the Redcliffe Dominus. Now this item also has a different mesh. It's very similar to Aureus's mesh, but has cool button designs. Now this one I actually think is very good looking and more refined. And if anything, I think it was probably the inspiration for Dominus Praefectus, which you may know of. And yeah, it has a cool red and gold design based off of the Knights of Redcliffe. I like how it looks in game, not much to say. Our next Dominus was created on March 19th of 2016 and was actually made for the Easter event of that year, but was left unreleased. When placed in game, it has a very nice white and green and yellow vibrant pastel texture, and it actually utilizes a new mesh that's very similar to Aris's mesh, sort of crossed with the original Dominus mesh. However, it has these sort of egg-shaped buttons on the front. Now, it's a shame because I actually really like this Dominus. This is probably one of my favorite Dominuses Roblox has ever released. However, it's not very hard to see why it was not released in the first place. Again, really like how this item looks. It's a shame that it was scrapped, but it's pretty obvious why it was scrapped. Our next Dominuses are actually the most recently scrapped Dominuses. The one on the screen now was created on November 16th of 2017. Just last year at the time of making this video. When placed in game, it has a very nice blue hood with silver wings and gold buttons. Now again, this is one of the most recent scrapped Dominuses, and it's fairly unknown why it was scrapped, as it looks fairly finished if you look at it. However, my theory is that they simply did not want to release any more Dominuses at this time. So I think we'll probably see another Dominus in the future, but I don't think this one will be releasing. When placed in game, again, it looks fairly nice, sort of mimicking Rex's color scheme. The last scrap Dominus was actually created on the exact same day. So this leads me to believe that these two Dominuses were more of a test Dominus, and that's why they were never released. When viewed in game, the second Dominus has a dark purple hood with sort of black metallic silverish wings and silver buttons. Now this item I think would have done a lot better than the blue Dominus, particularly in terms of just the looks. I think the other one looked too similar to Rex in a sense, so I think if they were going to release one of these, this would be the better choice. No, I actually do like the blue one better in terms of looks. This one I think just looks off. I'd call this a just fashion disaster, to be honest. The hood doesn't really match that well with the buttons in contrast with the wings. And to me, it just looks too plasticky. Like, there's no texture really on this. It's just sort of here, like one color. So if they were to release this Dominus, again, I think it would have been a lot better than the other one. However, I think they should have gone and sort of retextured it and just made it look a bit better. Just add some more detail or something. Specifically with the colors, I think they make the Dominus look a lot smaller than it really is because of the sort of darker color contrast on it. And that was every unreleased Dominus on Roblox. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you liked, leave a like and subscribe for more content. Now to that, tell me in the comments what your favorite out of all these unreleased Dominuses was.